Mage Training Arena is. That scares me just because that would only kind of influence and kind of encourage the bots to ramp it up, and that I don't like something that is going to be best in slot requiring a Mage's Book, which is heavily botted. That whole kind of scenario just scared me a lot, which is why I was very anti Mage's Book.
Yeah, that was part of the argument as to why we decided to not make it a thing.
You also don't want to go down the path of every best in slot requiring old content to still make it like content, I guess you could say, to make it best in slot. Like, I don't know, an example, like making pass like a Bander's chestplate, for example. If you made a better DPS chestplate to like need a Bander's chestplate to add it to that, you could like always be like, well, you can't kill Banders because then who would kill that, you know?
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
That's what I like.
And also, it's hard to pick and choose to be like, we need this item to not be devalued, but what if we kill other items? It's like, it
but
has
that's
to be
gonna
a
be
justifiable cause, I think, to not like ruin other items over.
There has also been the suggestion to remove the sigil from an arcane with
I kind of like that idea. Though.
That's a bit far-fetched, don't you think?
Yeah, it is, but I don't know, it looked cool as well, so who knows?
I think they could find a way to spin the lore on removing the arcane and somehow infusing the arcane with the tome. Because I think like they obviously wanted to keep the look of the tome. I can't remember whose response it was, but someone's response was it would make no sense to add a spectral shield to a tome. So it kind of fits into that lore that they wanted, removing the sigil and kind of infusing the power of the arcane sigil within the mages or within the new Siren's tome. I think they could have made it work.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to introduce stuff, and yeah, what Alfie said, you pretty much took the question out of my mouth before. I want to add, like bring the topic up that every new item or best in slot item, in my opinion, it's okay to introduce some old with an upgrade onto it, for example, whatever it is, but for everything. But the thing is now, because it's of course the tome was a new topic about the offhand mage book or the offhand mage thing. And I think people now know that if they can say something, and they will always want that. For example, I think for BCP and tacits, the community will really demand an upgrade to Bandos, so that doesn't devalue that. I'm a bit disappointed in that probably most people will talk or think like that. But yeah, it's just how it is sometimes.
I also think it's about how much of a boost is the previous item to the new item. So, for example, if you were to add Bandos to the new Inquisitor armor, I think that's a bit too far, because it gives such a slight increase in DPS that it's not really worth adding a Bandos set to. But I do agree that if you were to add, for example, a 10% magic damage increase item into the game, maybe the arcane would be needed, because that is a massive increase in DPS.
For sure.
For an offhand as well, you have to think of it's not a weapon, it's actually just an offhand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea. There could have been a lot of other ideas. I like the tome height was added, not from the whole beginning. It was nerfed from 15 to 10%, or was it 10% from the start? I can't remember.
Pretty sure it was 10% from the start.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember the 15% going
that
out.
would be a bit too much, maybe. Yeah, definitely.
10% was already hefty. It barely passed with 4.
Yeah. How much was it? 77? 76?
I don't remember the result percentages.
I think the lowest one was 79.
Yeah, I think it was 81, guys.
81?
Everything in this poll passed very well, I'd say.
Yeah, that's good. I was actually also surprised that all the magic, the new weapons passed. I was thinking maybe 1 or 2, or 1 wouldn't pass. I was really surprised with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I was surprised about the volatile orb passing because of the drama with it being on par with an AGS and being...
Yeah. Like being able to stack both hits from like far casting and then like running forward and obviously using the Gmo as well. But they changed that, the spec percentages changed, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of not happy people to see a magic equivalent of the AGS, which kind of surprises me.
Well, if you think about it, the magic equivalent won't be 20 mil like the AGS, will be a few hundred mil, which I think balances it quite well, because not a lot of people have that much money, nor they want to risk that much money
yeah, not many people are gonna bring full ancestral and such like that into the wilderness.
Yep,
So it wouldn't
also
really be a
that.
multi-item. It would be more of like a single
Yeah.
way
It's
fighting
gonna open
item.
up
You're not
the
gonna
door
get a
for a
team
lot
of
of
like
low-level
15
account builds, though.
PvP specking each other with those staffs. It's
Yeah.
too much of a risk, really.
I think I'm
that you
completely
kinda
fine
pay
with like a
for in
mage
return.
spec weapon, but not a mage spec weapon that can hit as high as it hits.
Yeah.
Like Karazi would have been cool, or something on par with Karazi.
It literally
Karazi,
doesn't like,
bring it
I don't
back.
know. I struggled to like find really where this weapon is going to be used. Obviously, metas are going to be born from these new weapons, but like if we're talking solely PvM, I don't know. I really don't think the magic spec weapon is going to make some big breakout in PvM. I think it's just going to be
Oh no,
PvP
definitely
driven.
not.
I know this is the PVM podcast, but does it need to be a PVM item?
No,
No.
the concept for these staves wasn't to make them all PVM based. So for the harmonized orb, the purpose of that is to make magic a good DPS alternative, which is why if you add a 1 tick increase speed, it will make that weapon a lot better than most other weapons, especially in magic these days. Whereas for things like the volatile orb, that is pretty much just going to be like for a PvP based.
That's
We
what I
don't plan-
really like, to be honest. It's gonna have uses in both things. If you think
Yeah.
about the other big items that came out with Raids 1 and TOB, so
Yeah.
T-Bow
Exactly.
and Scythe, they were never used in PvP, so of course it's gonna raise the price, I think, as well, for a longer time, because there's 2 different communities that's gonna use them. And yeah, I really like that you have multiple uses, and I think also, yeah, even
Yeah,
at
some of
Suck you will, or Inferno you will actually use it, I think, because
Yeah.
maybe the prayer one with the prayer
Yeah,
spec.
the prayer one would be useful
It'd
if you
be,
don't want to use
Probably
SGS.
better than an SGS. The only
Yeah.
downside is you don't heal, right? You only restore prayers. So,
Yeah.
but you heal with the like the other.
Yeah, you can
Prayers
still
are-
autocast Ancients on that
Exactly.
staff.
Wait, you think the staff will be used over Kodai and Inferno?
No, just as instead of a
Just as
SGS.
instead of bringing the special attack, like using the staff
Oh.
as a special. Like the only other thing I've written down as well is like, you know how like in an Ice Demon raid, people would bring like a Kodai switch, and people would obviously like bring this staff as a switch for Ice Demon, and then probably use the Seng for Olm still. So it'd probably just be used as a switch instead of like a main primary weapon for the boss.
If you're at the
Yeah,
Zuck
sure.
or Inferno, have
It
you
would have
any
some-
one of you checked how many capes are in the game? I did that today, and there were 7,100, I think. Zuck kills.
Jeez.
How do you know
Unique-
that?
Unique
Were
people
you
who
surprised by
individual.
these numbers?
Oh.
Yeah, individuals. Were you surprised by these
counts.
numbers, or I was prior to surprised. I was like, it was going to be less than 5k for sure. Am I going up?
2.5
going up?
years, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, if you take out the first half a year, that's like 10 people a day.
We're talking 7,000 capes, right? Not 7,000 unique accounts.
Unique accounts, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
unique
we're
accounts.
talking unique accounts. Okay.
7,000 people are on the high scores with his
No.
upkill, basically. It doesn't
I'm-
really surprise me that much, given that it's been out for a really long time, and a lot of people have alts which also get the Infernal Cape and things like that.
Yes.
So,
And guess how many have only 1 KC? It's, I think, from 2k to 7k. Everyone has only 1 KC.
There's some
Yeah.
people out there that have like 6 accounts that have one.
Mm.
That's
yeah. Think about the people who are like really good at
Shout
PvM,
out Cape Forward.
PvP.
Doing them on alts and such like that. I think I have 3 myself, so
I bet there's only 5,000 like unique people if you
yeah,
include
probably
all.
something closer to that.
Yeah.
I feel like
probably
every I don't know. I guess the high level PVM community doesn't really make up that big of a community, but I would be willing to say that a majority of high level PVM community has the Inferno Cape on their ult.
Mhm.
Still not surprising though.
No, I'm
To
not
me.
surprised either.
Yeah.
And let's just like take the cat out of the bag. Like selling kind of is an issue, and selling is probably more common than we want, and people get away with it more than we would expect.
How many were banned? 1.2k in total now? From the last tweet, I think? Or 1k? Was it? When the last Infernal Cape ban? Yeah, I think one under 1.2k, so actually, yeah, it's a seventh of all
That's-
the capes have been banned. That's, to be honest, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Good work from Jack's side, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah,
Plus
and those people should also not have a KC, so they won't be on the high scores either, which is nice.
Yes. So let's keep on going for the new. How is it called? The new armor. I'm not gonna pronounce that. I forgot the name. I don't have it written down. The crush bonus armor. Where you think will be some metas and stuff, or where will you use it? Will it be actually
Chambers.
useful?
I think it'd be
Obviously,
insane.
Warhammer
Yeah.
specking.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you
That's the
Warhammer
big
spec,
one.
I think it's going to be very useful. Yeah. But I really like a lot of people are passionate about it completely devaluing Bandos. I really don't think it's going to have that big of an influence on Bandos. I think Bandos is actually going to stay stable.
Oh yeah, I think the same. Really.
Yeah, I think it's like comparing Torax to Justicia. Like obviously Justicia is like best in slot for defense and all that, but it's not a whole lot better than Torax, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't, and also the amount of difficulty it takes to get that armor is much higher.
There will be panic selling, but it should stay. It's at its value, at its price.
I hope that there's enough Bando sets in the game that even the slight minority that does panic sell, it doesn't influence it.
There is, and there's just so much GP in the game. It doesn't matter. It won't go down that much. Like the inflation is always
Yeah.
a thing going on.
Speaking about there being that much GP in the game, do you guys think any? So my initial thoughts was that the tome was definitely going to be max cash. Do you think we're going to see a max cash item on release?
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe like
they're
even like
always-
throughout the first week.
The
On
crush
release,
weapon.
yes.
there always is max
Actually,
because
no.
people are just that rich. So
Mhm.
I mean,
whether it
just-
stays that like that for that a long amount of time, I don't know. But
Well, even
for sure, someone will buy it.
Tebow on release was like 1.7 bill, but that was like almost 3 years ago. There's a lot more GP now.
the scythe got up to 4 bill. It's
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
kind of like a
I'm sure-
no-brainer for the next big PvM item.
I'm
Dude, I
sure
miss
some
when Scythe
staker
wasn't.
will.
Are any of these items as big as Scythe though?
Nah,
No, I don't think so.
no way.
The harmonized orb with the,
The
staff,
orb and
maybe.
the crush weapon maybe.
The orb is pretty big with the tome as well and fire surge.
Yeah, have you seen the burn pages? The prices skyrocketing. Invest, guys.
Are you trying to pull a cheeky merch on us?
Actually, I'm not rich enough. But yeah, but I'll actually be awesome. No. Yeah. And of course the mace, which is gonna come out, which is gonna be equivalent to rapier and rapier pretty much. Just for crush bonus, of course. Yeah. Just some niche uses, I guess, but not big. It won't have a spec, right? Yeah, no, it don't have a spec.
No spec, just the weapon.
Has anyone done the calculations? Is it going to be better than the Vigora's chain mace on Vedion?
Ooh, I don't know.
Because
Probably
Yeah,
only
I
if
think
you
one-
have gear. I doubt it. I can't see that
Yeah.
happening.
I doubt it too. 20%.
But it might be good for single target melee slayer if you have the all the crush gear on too.
Yeah, and even something like Call Fight Queen, which uses Crush, if you can't afford the Scythe. I think it would be
Ooh.
a good alternative.
You think it's?
it,
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you can't afford Scythe,
it will
Is it
beat the
four-stick
scythe
weapon?
in some places, yeah.
is it a 4-tick weapon? It is, right?
Yes.
It is.
Cool. Then, of course, the one also topic I want to talk about, the combat triangle. Of course, the main direction Jagex want was the magic weapons and magic total. Do you like that they put magic maybe on a similar level to range and melee? Of course, range is the highest one by far. But do you like that they come up with the magic as well, or do you think maybe other ways of balancing the combat triangle would have been better?
I'm personally very happy with it. I was ecstatic on the day that they revealed the rewards, and I didn't see any range updates. I think you nailed it. Range is still way ahead, even with this inclusion of mage and a little bit of melee. Yeah, I think it's coming to the point where it's more balanced. But then we need to ask ourselves: is it smart to bring magic and melee to the level of range? Because I think the answer to that would be probably no. Just because of how powerful range is. If mage is that powerful at some point in the game and melee gets to be that powerful, there could be some scary consequences. But for the most part, yeah, I think it's balancing out better.
I share the same opinion as well.
I feel like we're going into the direction of talking about a possible blowpipe nerf here.
I would love a blowpipe nerf. Blowpipe nerf and then take everyone's Inferno Cape away, so we have to get Inferno Cape without blowpipe. Dude,
Could you imagine
make,
The uproar, dude.
yeah, dude, make third age bow meta for DPS.
Panic buy some of those quickly.
But I think the blowpipe nerf
What's-
we
I mean-
talked about it last pop. I think in both PvM podcasts, to be honest, and it's just too late in my opinion. It's just way too late to introduce that now. Way too late. Like, even though it would be a good balancing thing, it's just way too
I mean,
late.
they could just drop the range strength of it because
With-
we've had so many range strength upgrades.
Wasn't there? I think also you said it, or was it Mandred with the darts thing that Merrick proposed?
The plus 6. Oh yeah, every time
Yeah.
they add every time they add like a new range strength thing, they just lower the blowpipe by that much.
Yeah.
So blowpipe DPS never changes, but everything else gets stronger.
I don't see a flaw in this. I think it's the best solution.
It's a brilliant idea.
But I don't know, the mage thing. Mage is like mainly useful in PvM, I guess, for like blood barraging and sank staff, right? That's like the
Yeah.
only things we really
Pretty much.
have. So it's kind of
Yeah.
cool to have stuff that's different. But I mean, in PvP, mage is pretty strong. Like freezing somebody for 20 seconds is kind of a big deal. So I don't know if mage needed that big of an upgrade. I think it does need an upgrade. And I'm glad, like what Coxie said, how there's no range upgrades at all for Nightmare. That's kind of cool.
Also, maybe new
Kinda
spells.
harder.
You can with magic. You can work a spell, or not spell books, but different spells which can maybe change some metas and stuff. Also, doesn't need the DPS buff, but maybe utility buff, whatever spells you can imagine from other games. I have some in mind you can use and stuff. For example, group vengeance. Let's get that.
Wasn't Group Vengeance already bought?
Was it?
Jamal would have a field day with that.
Oh.
That gives me, you know what that reminds me of? Group Vengeance, Live at Farm.
Yeah,
I miss
man.
those days.
Exactly
The
that.
terrible days.
You guys ever see the video?
No.
It wasn't group vengeance, but you ever see the video of the guy who had like 10 accounts at the Willy altar and they were all venged,
yeah.
and he waited for a PKer to attack him. And the
Yeah.
PKer just insta died to venge.
Yeah,
I
haven't
think
they
he got
gotten?
money with that.
They've gotten, yeah, a few PKers have gotten sat by like DD stacking with everyone venging. Group Vengeance could actually, like, I actually guarantee Group Vengeance would have a use at some point in PvM and in PvP, just because that's free DPS, and we live in a game where DPS is superior to everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is why, going on this topic, I know like the new thing is just like, even though damage bonuses are high, like negating defense or prayer, I feel like that doesn't really have that big of an influence. I feel like that's kind of just like a way to make something not sound OP, but with our game style right now, like having lower defense, like I don't think having lower defense on this new Inquisitor armor is gonna really matter anywhere but maybe TOB. And even then, I still think people will use it for TOB.
Yeah, I was always a fan of the best DPS gear should be the lowest def, so that's why I liked Void, or like a Void style armor being the best DPS gear, wherever you will get that.
Do you think it'll bring out like 30 def builds? Like people making 30 def accounts for PKing or something?
That, of course, could be also something.
Remember the 30 def accounts for Turmoil back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were so crazy.
Turmoil
good.
peers?
They
Yep.
were so strong. So yeah, let's get started into the Nightmare of Ashihama, like what we want to expect from the boss. Of course, we have the mod and the playtester here who playtested it, so they can't really talk about it. Thanks anyway, though, that you came here, and yeah. So, which question do I take? Yeah, what do you want or do you expect or not want from the new group boss, mechanic-wise, role-wise, etc.?
Don't give us
No.
minions. They're so fucking boring. Minions of things is just like the most lazy way to add either unavoidable or like unavoidable damage or like a longer fight. It's so boring.
Okay, so how about this? So I do agree with that actually, but what about like, so I think it's going to be multi-phase boss. I highly doubt there's not going to be any phases. What if like minions spawn out kind of like Vedion, like in the middle of a phase and you have to kill them to move on to the next? Because I think that could
So
add
something to
Mm.
make it a
some
longer
content.
fight, which is a boring mechanic.
No, I was more looking at like minions in God Wars, how you kill them after, whereas in a new boss, like minions spawn during a phase that you have to kill to progress through the
Yeah,
boss. I can see them adding
that's-
something like that.
I think we're on opposite ends. I don't want mid-fight minions
Okay.
So,
because it's just so boring and it just makes the fight longer, but
Did-
it's really.
do you
not.
know how next worked if the minions on the side, on the corners? Do you?
Oh, yeah.
I think you could call
Yeah.
them minions as well, pretty much. So after phase ends, you have to kill that, and of course, in between, you could do so much mechanic-wise, in my opinion, which I would really like if they would implement. Like you have to kill for example, you kill the first phase, then you go to this minion, you have to kill it, and this meantime, the boss will make some special attacks you have to avoid and stuff. I would really love that, to be honest. And
Yeah,
that's
I'm fine with that. I like phases and stuff like that, but I'm talking about think about every boss that has them. Scorpia, half HP minions come out,
Yeah.
you got to kill them or freeze them. Vedion, halfway through the fight, minions come out, you got to kill them. Sire, minions come out that just do damage to you, so that you have to take damage from somewhere. It just like mid-fight minions that don't really do anything is boring. Mid-fight minions that have like mechanics, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
I don't mind mid-fight minions that don't need you to kill them to progress in the fight. So Sire, that's fine. Vetion, not fine.
okay, yeah, Vetion is pretty much the worst in my opinion of all of the minions.
Yeah, that's more in line with what I was like. I just don't want
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
That's just a boring way to add the time
Yeah.
to kill the boss.
That's true. What I really want with the boss is actually, I said that every single boss is different roles. The specific tank role, which also would be really awesome if it switches. So it's not only one guy, for example, it's the one the closest to the boss is gonna get attacked, or maybe the one the furthest away, whatever it is, or it changes randomly. So
Like
it'll
what
give
we
you
have with Maiden.
yeah, so my adrenaline boost, like holy shit, it's attacking me, and you know maybe it has a 80 hit chance if you don't have the right prayer on. Of course, if you're not tanking or whatever, I would really love that. That would be so dope.
What if the boss had a mechanic where it would target, it would go onto the person that has the lowest defense bonuses?
So
equipped?
like next back in the name, the lowest magic death, yeah, at the last
Next.
phase, yeah, Zara's phase was it? I think?
Something like that would definitely be
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm.
It's a good mechanic as well.
I just hope that, like, honestly hope that it's not a counting simulator. I think with Hunlif is just kind of like pushed it over the edge with just bored of counting to 3 and 4.
Yes, please. That's the worst boss mechanic you can give.
I would rather take, like, I'd rather unavoidable damage than like a counting simulator, which is 100% protection any day. I would rather just have to take damage. Than,
If you have a boss that changes his attack style after a while, make it visible by some kind of animation, basically like Jad, where he stomps the ground before ranging and he lifts up before maging, and not just forcing you to count attacks.
Wait, you guys don't like counting to 3?
Not all the time. That's the difference. Maybe for a minute or something, or not even a minute. Yeah, and I really hope it's not. It's gonna be a fast kill as well. Maybe like 5 to 10 minutes for a kill. Or if it's just like, course Corp, I'm expecting it to be harder than Corp. That it's not just like, click it, most DPS, and then bam, it's gonna be dead.
So do you think time has a big influence on whether you enjoy it or not?
I think
As
it's
in,
gonna
like,
be,
Corp,
yeah.
you
As
know, the
we
5
got,
second, right?
as we have raids implemented now into RuneScape, people are used to have a longer time for KC, and I would like to not be like insta death and like, or not insta death, just like 1 minute kill or whatever, like Corp.
I
is
guess
nowadays.
just for me, just going with the minion thing. Like, I just don't want a long fight that's only long because of some really like super easy but extremely boring mechanic. So if it's a long fight but it's interesting the whole time, like cool. If it's a short fight and it's interesting the whole time, cool. But if there's like filler content in the middle of the fight just added so the kill's longer, and it's not like engaging or like something where you're on your toes the whole time, like I don't want that.
Yeah, that's also support that.
Thieving room.
Definitely.
I'm sorry.
Do you guys think alts are gonna be implemented at some point with this new boss?
I
Yes.
think so, because I've just from
First
what
day.
they said about it's going to be similar to Corp and it's not going to be a raid, so you can maybe focus to accounts better than in raids or TUB, whatever. You could actually do it with TUB, but it's way harder.
Yeah, I think TOB is really the only content or game right now that is not alted excessively.
Well, because everything else is
Except
well,
W.
all the stuff is
Depends.
instance too, I guess.
It depends
That
what the
TOB.
alt will be used for. Is it DPS? Is it tanking? I would like tanking, to be
Yeah.
honest. And is it just like a pack which brings you food and potions, whatever, and drops it all over the floor and just pick it up on the way for the kill?
Here's a question I just thought of. So you know, like a year ago, maybe on Twitter, there's a lot of people going off about how every boss is instance, and I personally I hate that. Like I wish that all the there was more open world stuff.
Yes.
But what's worse for the game? All the alt metas that are coming up, or the fact that like there's a lot of bosses that are instance, so you have to solo them,
I don't
but
really like
there's
the
so
idea
many
of
that can be killed
instances.
per world.
Mhm.
Like I don't know which one's worse.
I like
Yeah,
open
I'd say
world
the
as well.
instance is
Yeah,
worse.
me too, probably.
Because the instance makes it so the items can come in at a much faster rate.
Yeah,
True,
so it
yeah.
becomes like, well, I guess from a GP and hour perspective, it becomes less relevant in a much shorter span of time. If there's like instances, you don't
Do
have
we
to like
know?
look for a world.
Is the new is Ashihama going to be instance? Have they have we
I
been
don't
told
know.
that?
Could ask Bruno.
I don't think anyone said whether it has or hasn't. So
Okay.
I will answer that.
Alright.
But I have answered that Iron Men will have to play with other Iron Men. They
Okay.
won't be able to get carried by regular accounts.
No,
Interesting.
So if you
wonder,
want to make a group, make an all Iron Man group if you're an Iron Man.
I wonder how. So maybe it'd be like Corp. Obviously, you can't say Bruno, but I wonder if it'd be like Corp, where you can buy an instance if you want, but you have to pay. And then if you want, like, you just do the open world one as well.
Mm.
I was kind of hoping it was all going to be one open world. That'd be cool. But then Iron Man wouldn't be able to do it for like the first month. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also part of why we decided.
Oh,
not to
it might be like Corp as well, where like
make
Iron Man
it-
go to a different one.
Yeah. Although it will be like raids where the reward you get is based off of the points you have. So basically like how much damage you deal and stuff like that. To make it fair to everyone rather than just
oh no.
oh well
So it
you
won't
don't
be.
have it won't be as if like co-op where if you don't have absolutely everything best in slot, the chances of you getting a drop are almost zero.
Alright.
So
In Masters especially.
will it kind of? So okay, I don't know if you can say this, but will it be kind of like I saw a message in chat, like Volcano, where somebody could get a pet, like anybody could kind of get a pet, if there's a pet for it. It doesn't just have to be the most DPS or something.
Yeah, I guess. It will be like
Okay.
raids, so if you get 10 points in raids, there's a tiny chance you'll get a drop, but
Wait, raids like chambers or TOB? Because they're very different in terms of pet.
chambers.
Chambers.
That was the one that I was hoping it wasn't. 'Cause- okay, so what Chambers does is it gives incentive on like out DPSing your friends, kind of like point whoring, because if you don't roll that purple, you will never roll a pet. So like in terms of pet hunters, like going with other pet hunters really isn't the best thing in the world at Chambers because you want to make sure that you're always having the most points to guarantee yourself, or not guarantee, but to give you the highest chance of getting that purple. That's what I hope it's not, because then we fight against each other to try to out DPS. Whereas
It probably
TOB,
won't be that
it's
big of a difference though.
yeah, I like TOB though because you don't anyone can get it. You don't have to roll a purple. I don't know.
Well, wait, they didn't. What? I don't think you have to get an item to get a pet for this. Do you? Did they say that?
I didn't say that.
We didn't say this yet, no.
Oh,
I think it's
okay,
more like
alright, yeah.
Volcano. It'd be like Volcano, where
He was talking
Yeah,
about
I'm
the
talking
point
about-
system.
I'm
as
talking about
opposed-
getting a drop specifically. Where in
Okay,
co-op,
yeah.
the only person who gets a drop is the person who does the most damage, which isn't very fun for everyone else.
okay.
Yeah, I got you. I just thought it was gonna be like if you get, never mind. If you get the unique
Yeah,
that you get the only roll at the pet.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's something we should learn from Chambers to not only have the person with the highest points or the actual pet chance.
Mm.
Yeah, I want to ask Bruno. I know maybe you cannot answer that, as the playtesting, of course, went on. The first players have playtested the boss. Can we expect the boss before March? Just like, or is it impossible to say, or you can't answer that?
I can't give out any details on when it will be released.
Yeah.
All I can say is early 2020.
Alright.
Nice. What are your guys' thoughts on when it's going to be released? Obviously, besides Bruno.
I think February or March.
Yeah. I'm thinking that they're going to get it out by January. I don't know why. I
January
just feel like it
already.
is. Yeah, I think it's going to be a late January.
Late would make sense because Twisted League goes like halfway through. They probably don't want to do it in the middle of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I could see February.
The other question is how long after playtesting, whatever they will change and stuff. Of course, it's early December it happened, so I think 2 months after that is a good estimation.
How long was the difference when the TOB playtesters went to when the update dropped? Do we know that?
Oh, I have no idea.
3 months or so.
Okay, so then, yeah, that's a good basis to go off of.
Oh, well, yeah. And you have to think of the TOB is probably more complicated as well than just one boss. It depends how the boss is, of course, but maybe.
I mean, the fact that
probably-
they have playtesters already means that they're probably almost done.
Yeah, and by the way,
If I had to guess.
Huge thank you for Jagex to do the playtesting with outside people. I really think that's one of the things they've added to their business that is really important and really good. Because
Yeah, I'm glad as well.
Absolutely.
it shows so
We-
much new stuff. You get outside ideas. You have people that actually play really good. Because I think back in the days there were not many players at Jagex that were, in my opinion, good PvMers, good players in totals or like high level, and like that you can go around it. So you don't have to employ a Wooks or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea as well. We have another set of people coming in tomorrow and Tuesday, so that'll be fun. It also gives a really good idea of how they think the boss will be, since they'll be the ones playing it the most.
Yeah, that's the point. You get people who get to play the game a lot more than you guys who work at Jagex. Because you're basically working full-time jobs, you don't have to the time to play the game as much as other people do.
Yeah.
So it's always good to get those people in who play the game a lot more. Because their opinion might be valuable.
Yeah, big agreed. More opinions, the better.
Yeah, definitely. You're not gonna. No, I don't. No, you're never. Not beta for the boss. You're not gonna do that anyway.
No, the only beta for the boss is the actual rewards, which will be over on Thursday, I think. There won't be an update, but we'll still take the rewards down, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, to be honest, I just thought when I was thinking of the question to make just takes all the curiosity away if you know how it works.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah,
That's the
definitely
best
a good
part of
idea.
the boss.
Yeah, imagine having a beta for the Inferno, and then
I mean,
Yeah.
I did like when you could run through chambers of Zarek with nothing in the rooms. But nostalgic, do you remember that? Anyone remembers that?
I do not.
Like you could go into a raid with nothing inside, you could just run through all the rooms.
Oh yeah, that yeah. I think that was mainly just to test like how the party system worked and things like that, and if generating actual dungeons worked properly. From what I remember, because I wasn't obviously there at the time, I think that was the point of that beta.
Or like a little speculating we did up seeing those rooms.
Yeah, that was fun. I remember doing it and running through.
Sorry, Alfie is fake Alfie your account on Twitch?
Yes, that
Alright,
is
I'm gonna mod you. So just keep on going.
some.
So yeah, if we're gonna go on, I think we're done with Ashihama. Or you have anything in the chat, of course, you can ask some questions, talk about it if you want to know. Maybe ask something about Bruno or whatever, or us, of course. We're happily talking. We'll be talking about it. So we're gonna keep on going. I'm gonna skip the death mechanic topic, and we're gonna go straight to PvM council topic. Which, of course, the discussion started earlier in 2015 for some council for different communities, and now they introduced the idea of the PvP council. I have no idea how far you are at Jagex for that, like if there's any progress on it or whatever. And what I want to talk about here is, of course, a PvM council or on general a council in different communities in the game that happen. For skilling could be another one, and yeah, I think this 3 will be the biggest one. What do you think about it? What would you want the PvM council to be, if there will be one or there will be one implemented? I'm gonna get the drinks. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think they've actually kind of like started taking the steps towards that with playtesting new bosses. I mean, that kind of in itself acts as a PvM council. I mean, it's not going to be set in stone with these 10 people are the heads of the PvM council, whereas it's kind of just people drawn from the PvM community to playtest new material. So yeah, I think they've already taken steps towards that, and I'm very happy with them doing it.
The idea of a PvP council as well is a lot of us don't touch PvP at all, so we know how things might affect PvP. But we don't know how exactly things would work when they get released. So if you did have people that would just focus the game on PvP, they would have like a much bigger understanding than you and I. Like pet hunters, bosses, like just hunting bosses all day, you know, just a different like type of player really. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I think a PvP console would be more worth doing over PvM, because PvP people are a lot more split up. There's
Yeah,
like all
exactly.
sorts of different type of PKs, there's pures, there's multi, there's clans. Whereas most PvMers just like PvM and they're all sort of similar. Like, yeah, there's like the people who have 20 alts and the people who like to pet hunt. But in overall, they sort of all just do the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting idea. It could be used. But yeah, like Alfie said, the playtest and things like that just sort of do already help for that. So I'm happy with how things are right now.
You're getting a bit quiet, Bruno. I don't know if you're. It heard like you were a bit further away from your.
Maybe my mic, sorry.
Oh, that's good now, yeah. Much louder.
Mm.
Sometimes it just moves, my bad.
Yeah, I think PvP council's needed, but I don't know about PvM.
I kind of like have a PvP council question. Do you think that's gonna like fix the issue of PvP updates not passing?
No, not passing. I think it won't change anything.
Like
I don't think
how
it will
they
either.
did certain polls before is like, for example, like changes to pets, for example, right? You would have to initially own the pet to make like a change to the boss as a whole, for example. They've done things like that in the past. Like I know like RS3 have done it. No hate when I say that, please. But like my point was like, if you change polls for PvP, like PvP, is there a way that you could make it so like, I don't know if an account has to like engage in some sort of PvP to be able to vote, or like what way around would you do that? Because like it's obviously not fair when you get PvMers like, oh, I don't care what happens in PvP, so let me just vote no to everything, right?
Yeah, I think that is
seriously-
something that has been looked at and is being investigated. I don't know what in general the polling strategy is right now, so that's not something I deal with. But it is something we're looking at, whether we think it will be worthwhile to put requirements on being able to poll certain things and vote in certain things.
It seems like the polling strategy right now is to pack stuff together, like the staff. You have a use for it in PvM, and you have a use for it in PvP. And it passed, so...
I think
Seems
a
to
lot
work.
of what a PvP council would do is, first, a lot of the PvP changes they've made over the years have been like not pulled. Like, so they've done things that are just like they consider to be a game integrity for PvP. But I also think like instead of the question, would it affect the results of the polls, the question should be like, would it affect the questions that get put on polls? Because I feel like a lot of the questions that get put on polls are either worded poorly or not the right questions for PvP, or like people who don't PvP don't really understand them. So I think the PvP council would like help with that.
But do you think even with the PvP council in, let's say that it makes the wording and like the poll questions better, do you think it would still pass?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
you think it would?
I think it'd have a higher percentage.
Only put poll booths in PvP.
But even then, a
wasn't
lot of
bounty hunter
PvP
ones.
stuff, a lot of PvP stuff is just game integrity, in my opinion. Obviously, updates to the games like adding items or adding stuff to a shop or whatever. That's something that should be pulled. But there's certain things with PvP that like aren't necessarily those things.
Yeah. What I also think is that a lot of people vote no to certain PvM polls because they're thinking, yeah, why would I vote yes to something that kills me faster in the wilderness? And that is such a wrong idea to go to poll and let you influence with that, because that just ruins so much.
Yeah. I'm kind of fearful of also like having restrictions. We're just talking about making it so that only certain like minority groups, like obviously minority groups like in RuneScape, can vote on polls. So like having restrictions on who can vote on PvP polls, just because of it might not be clear when it's being polled, like what influence that might have on the main game. So like having only PvPers vote on stuff that might not seem like it can affect the main game scares me, just because who knows what can come from that.
Hmm. So I was not here at the start of the PvM Council, but I heard that some people think that it's not necessary. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I think the majority thinks it's not necessary.
Why not, if I may ask like this, to explain why you think it's not gonna be necessary? Or necessary, of course it's not, but maybe a good supplement.
Like the player testing is kind of
Yeah, I guess it's like it pretty much is a PvM council.
a
But as
substitute
opposed
for
to every
PvM Council.
update coming out to being changed based on that council, it's like realistically only when a boss comes out. So it's kind of a, I guess it's kind of more of a hard one.
The only thing I
Sure.
could think that could be beneficial from PVM Council is like issues being addressed quicker,
Yeah, exactly.
like just the direct contact with Jagex.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
don't think it's necessary for the game's path.
I think that was a good progress anyway from Jagex. They take feedback way faster or directly from players, I think, compared to like 3 or 4 years ago. Alright, anything else you want to add to the PvM Council? Alright.
No, we were pretty much done with that topic.
Good, let's get on. So our last PvM contest, we talked about it already. It's the death mechanics in the game. Heard some new ideas on Twitter as well, and other podcasts as well, that could be implemented. How are your thoughts about the death mechanics in the game that like they are at the moment?
I think it's pretty ridiculous that it's been like 6 years, and they haven't come up with a better solution yet. There's like so much that could happen that doesn't just have to do with DCs. Like RS3 has a pretty good system, as much as people don't like hearing the word RS3.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's pretty ridiculous that nothing's changed. One of the things I actually dislike the most about the game right now.
For the people
That's
who
my
don't
opinion,
know, how does the death mechanics work in RS3?
In RS3, the way I understand it, there's a collection place.
Yes.
And so you can kind of choose how you want your stuff. You can either choose to have like the grave, or you can choose to have it based on the percentage of your risked wealth, I think.
Mhm.
And so you just pay that.
Is it always a percentage of the wealth that you have?
I think it's a percentage
Or
up
is
to a
there a
certain
max amount of money?
Yeah, I think there's
that
a
you have?
max. I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
think there's a maximum. It just
Is there not a max?
goes up. I don't believe so.
Oh,
the
yeah.
the alternative to looting your grave instead is not like, oh well, I'm not gonna pay to get my items back, because items degrade in RS3. You lose like I don't know, 20% charge on your items, which obviously have an equivalent value anyway. So
Mhm.
it would be like the same as paying. It wouldn't be like, oh, I've DC'd. There's lucky this thing is here. I'll just go get my grave. If you don't DC, for example, you'd still have that punishing factor.
Mhm.
And it's obviously a safe route of, if you do DC, obviously you don't actually just lose your items.
Yeah, I agree with John. I think I definitely think the death mechanics should be updated, but I don't think our old death mechanics are the way to go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it is right now too easy when it comes to like just dying. And for example, if I want to like quickly reset my stats in Twister League, I'll just die because it's a lot faster than having to deal with anything else. Even though that sort of defeats the purpose of the game, where you shouldn't really be dying on purpose. But I definitely think that having it the way it used to be, where you die, you have 3 minutes to loot everything, or everything shows on the floor, I think that's the way to go, because then you could just go back to the days where people just DDoS each other. So they would get their 100 mil
Yeah.
and then
That will happen, would happen.
Okay, so yeah, the death mechanics in RS3, there is gravestones. If players don't want to spend coins to reclaim their items, they're free to attempt to reach their gravestone within the allotted amount of time. And then if they don't reclaim it, it goes to Death's office, which Death is like an NPC that holds your stuff for a day. And a full day. He holds it for a full day. So even if you DC'd for over an hour, you could still pay money and get your stuff back. And like people always bring up, oh, what about Iron Man? They don't have the GP for it. Well, then don't risk that much, or make a different death mechanics for Iron Man. I don't know.
No, I think if you change death mechanics, it would be the same for every player.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't
But
know.
yeah, that could be.
But
an
either
idea,
way,
of course.
like the way it is now, it's kind of dumb.
I want to ask Bruno: is it still like an active topic that you talk about at Jagex? Death mechanics.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely something we'd like to do something about. It's just that if we were to do something about it, it wouldn't be a fast change. It would take quite a while. And at the same time, it wouldn't make the game better, it would just make the game worse. Not overall, but it would make the game worse because it would make the game hard, and some people don't like that. It's just
I do like
wanting
the
to fit
system.
the time in, really.
I do like the system with the death chests you have at certain bosses. Like, you have it at TUB, you have it at Guardians, you have it at Solar, although you don't have to pay for that. I think that system would be a good idea to implement it at a lot more places, like, for example, Godless Dungeon. And having the option, just like the dev's office in RS3, that you can claim your items at a central place, maybe a respawn point, but you would have to pay a lot more for that if you want to reclaim them at your respawn point.
That is a good idea. Yeah, we talked about it today.
Like
It might be cool if it was based on your risked wealth too, so that way, like, it'd be pretty hyped to see somebody in max gear doing something that's kind of risky. Because you know if they die, they have to pay like 20 mil or something to get their stuff back.
Like if you die at Bandos, you can either get KC, enter the door, collect your stuff, or you can go to the Godless Dungeon, go to the door, and pay 250k to access the chest there. Or third option, you can stay at the respawn point, pay 1 mil, and get your stuff there.
I wouldn't want any sort of collection box outside of every single boss. I think it would make it not great, especially at God Wars, because at God Wars, you ain't attacked by everything, especially if you don't have like the God items. But yeah, that is a good solution.
Also, what I want to add to this topic is: do you think the death mechanics, if there is a change, should it go to a poll booth, or should it be implemented as a, how is it called, when they Jagex implements things?
Game integrity. 100%.
Yeah,
No poll.
definitely.
I think the poll is kind of like a dark horse in our game right now. I believe that poll is like beneficial in a lot of ways, but also it's I don't want to say holding us back, but it's restricting us.
What do you mean dark horse?
I mean, it's just like the fact that it might not be as good as we think it is.
That's not what a dark... Okay, never mind.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see like more just Jagex implemented updates with stuff like that.
We could poll how we're actually going to implement the new death mechanics, but it shouldn't be up for the votes if they are coming. That should be a set. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just find it crazy that it's been on the back burner for like 6 years. Like God Wars DCs were literally like November of 2013. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah, back when Sun used to stream God Force. Oh my, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Were you even in college at that time?
No.
Like that's how long ago that was.
Yeah,
You literally got a degree before Jagex was able to fix death mechanics.
Yeah. Dude, I hope the good thing I have the God Wars pets before death mechanics get fixed. We broke after Bandos. Why?
But you also have to think of with death mechanics. I think a lot of more players kept with playing the game because of how they changed that. Because I remember back in the day, or really back in the day, so 2007, 2009, when you died and you lost stuff, you were like, "Fuck my life, what am I gonna do now? Fuck, I have to do everything again to get the money." And
but I like that. I think that would also have an indirect empathy for PKers, because PKing is the only place in the game where there's actual risk, in my opinion. Besides if you play a hardcore. So if people start seeing death as risky again, people will sympathize or understand like the frustrations PvPers have are a little better. Right,
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, you.
Honestly, I'm scared. I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm scared we're never gonna get a death mechanic update.
No, I'm gonna be
I'm really just
jumping
being
in joy.
honest. I really don't think we're ever getting one. I think we've become too content with how it works right now, and I don't really think that many people are asking for it.
They could change it for every new boss that comes out, like the payment method we have now with the boxes and whatever. You have to pay and retrieve your gear. They could implement, of course, other stuff for specific new bosses. There could be also a way without changing the whole death mechanic stuff.
What are you guys' thoughts on the fact that every Slayer boss is like 500k an hour? Or no, Slayer and Monster, normal monster is like 500k an hour now, when it used to be not be like that at all.
I don't like it.
It fucking sucks, right?
Bit of a power.
It's pretty ridiculous they haven't changed that either.
What, GP an hour or what?
No, like you go do a Necreal task, you make 1 mil. You go do a fucking Dust Devil task, you make 500k. Like it's, what you guys' thoughts on that?
I think
Where
that's
just
an issue with
money is just
Catacombs.
handed to you. It's
It
not
wouldn't
just
be that way.
Catacombs, though.
I know, but it wouldn't be
Gargoyles,
that way
blade
if it
bosses.
wasn't for Catacombs. Gargoyles isn't that, like Gargoyles is literally not even 200k an hour, unless you're absolute in max gear. But if you're in max gear, you're not killing gargoyles.
And
What?
if you're
Gargoyles like
max gear-
750k an hour with like Tor eggs.
Is it actually?
Yeah, normal gargoyles. You talking about? We're not talking about the boss.
I didn't know Gargs was that close to 1 mil an hour. I thought it was always way under
No.
500k.
It was pretty
No.
high, always. I think they nerfed it once, right? No?
No, it wasn't always like that.
No, but when
It was really bad. They
done-
updated the table for like everything. It started with wyverns, but like everything has had a table upgrade.
Yeah, kind of like goes into like lava dragons, just having these really easy farmable GP.
Yeah. But it is hard to make good balanced drop tables.
It always is, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. And then when we do try to make good balance drop tables, people complain that are terrible. For example, the
Dead content.
what was it? The basilisks. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're not that bad in the case that you hope to get like the big payoff drop, which is the job. But then everyone else goes try to do them, and they're like, "This is trash. I'm not getting any money, and these are hard to kill."
I think drop tables are one of the hardest things to make. So like I understand that.
Yeah. I
My
think
opinion
so.
is that if something comes in that's best in slot, if there's an item that is dropped by a monster that's best in slot, that should be the main GP from that thing, and then everything else should either maybe barely cover how much like you use in supplies, or maybe
Yeah.
make you a small profit.
Big agree.
Like Zora, for
Gargoyles.
example. Imagine if Zora never had like big drops, like 100k a kill average, right, or whatever it is. Blowpipe would be like 100 mil or something,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but way higher for sure.
and then you'd still make the same GP an hour, but you'd make it off of that signature drop.
Yeah.
I
God
kind
Wars
of
and
like
Sir were the
PvM
best
to
drop
be like
tables.
that though, like the big payout as opposed to making like a steady 4 mil now. I prefer to like make
Yeah, I like that too.
nothing, but then be like, yes, we made money each, you know.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I'm
more
saying.
of an
I like
excitement
that.
feel. Because it becomes
I-
more about like how many hours you put in, 10 hours, 50 mil, as opposed to being like, you know, you could.
And then the
make a lot
exception,
more.
the exception is stuff that like doesn't have a best in slot, or where the best in slot is like a one-off use. Like for example, like the Dragonfire Ward, right? From Vorkath, that's not a big enough drop to carry that boss, so it needs some good average drops.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's a lot of places that don't need that.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of drop tables, I saw it get brought up in chat. I really do think Zolcano is something that we're not like giving enough attention to. Have you guys looked at this? Like just looked at any given world going to Zolcano?
It's
There's
crazy.
a 4-man team running in every single world right now. Zolcano is being farmed heavy, and it is like the most consistent because it's all based on like raw ores and gems. Like the
Yes.
most consistent 3 to 4 mil an hour. That scares
It's crazy
me
how
more
much
than anything
money
right now.
Yeah.
Volcano is the new best alt money maker.
Oh, I just got a really good video idea. I'm gonna send it a little smoky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking
don't-
the dart prices because, of course, as all the ores are getting into the game, smithing is maybe cheaper and darts could be going down. Let's check. Not really, to be honest, a little
don't
bit,
just get ores
but
from
not
Volcano.
really, not much. They're pretty steady. just the Dragon Darts for some reason crashed and went up for a while. But yeah, there's no Dragon Ore, so that doesn't. But yeah, Volcano is way underestimated how much GP that brings into the game.
And all you need is a rune pickaxe.
Yeah. You
Literally.
don't need much. And
There
of
should
course,
be a
the
death
quest
mechanic there.
requirements, of
Like there
course.
should be like a 1 mil every time you die kind of thing there, or something. Because deaths do happen when you don't
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah.
I've probably died like maybe like 10 times there or something.
You can even Rune Dragon Old if I had any problems that did that as well when I did some Volcano. It's not really hard, and it's then even more money. So anything you wanna add to the death mechanics or drop tables?
I read in the chat before when we were talking about the not making much an hour, but then when you get paid, you get rewarded. Someone said just like God Wars. I guess that's kind of a good point. You don't make much from regular loot as such, but like if you get like Bando's items and stuff like that, you kind of make more of the money just primarily from those. Like the GP an hour averages out from those. It's kind of nice. I prefer PvM to be like that. I guess it's just more preference there. Of course, not Bando's boots, as someone's saying in chat. Other items.
Everything but Bandos boots.
Yes,
about Bandos
exactly.
boots?
It's saying like the GP an hour coming more primarily from the main items as opposed to making like 3 to 4 mil an hour.
Oh yeah,
from,
God
like,
Wars has
normal-
God Wars and Cerberus have the best drop tables in the game, by far.
Yeah.
There's nothing besides those two that even come close.
I really like the God Wars.
DKs are not bad, but it's only because of the bones. Yeah,
Yeah,
Corp
true.
as well, of course.
Corpse table's okay. Corpse table's kind of weird. It's one of the weirdest things.
It is
in the game.
really weird. But
I
you
like it, but it's
You have
really
to think
fucking
of
weird.
that. I think they pretty much
It's an-
took the same drop table from RS3 or back in RS2, and some of the stuff was way more valuable. For example, the desert gold tones were used for summoning, so
Mhm.
they were not worth that much, but worth.
Remember how
way
much
more.
Pure Essence were back when Corp came out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pure Essence
It
was
was
like
worth
over 100 each back when Corp came out. That was actually a good drop. You picked that up all the time. Now Pure Essence is like what, just a couple GP. So I mean, it's just like an old drop table. A lot of
And
the things.
Please note the
Yeah,
tuna
it
potatoes.
has-
Thank you.
Hasn't aged very well.
Going back to Volcano, like Volcano always gives you 2 of his drops from the actual drop table, but there's also a lesser drop table. You get 1 roll if you get MVP. My suggestion would be that you only get 1 drop from the actual drop table once you get the 50 damage threshold on both shield and HP, and you can get another roll on the lesser table or even on the actual table if you get more damage, like basically at that Winter Toad. You can get a roll with 500 points and more rolls, or a chance to get more rolls, the more points you get.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like Winter Todd. I mean, not in the sense that you get more rolls, but that you just get more loot per roll, right?
That would leave the 4-man teams making the same GP per hour because they are doing more damage, but you get a lot less if you're rushing kills like pet hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So, if drop tables we were talking about already, what do you want for the Nightmare of Ashihama drop table? Also, only of course we have a lot of new items that will come out, and do you think they should be the main money? Or do you think smaller stuff, like, I don't know, 100k drops should be also drop there? Or just the main drops?
I think it depends a lot on the time to kill, or at least total boss HP.
Yeah, I agree.
And how hard it is.
Yeah.
I think they've done decent with Chambers and Corp in terms of like finding the right balance between expensive uniques and just what you get every time. I think it's gonna be similar to that. The only thing I do hope is that they don't give us like XP lamps like they did in Chambers. I don't really know why that happened. I feel like none of us like ever really in all of RuneScape asked why are they giving us XP from PvM, like an XP lamp.
Yeah, that is a bit weird.
It is.
I
A
hope
relic?
that doesn't
I
count.
mean, like, I
Yeah.
appreciated the agility and mining XP, but yeah, it's a bit strange.
Yeah, it's basically just like to give our PVMers, I don't know, XP and skills that we don't like training. But I don't know. I just thought it didn't really fit. That's the only thing I
The-
hope
the
doesn't
dark
come with the
relic?
drop table. Yeah,
You have an issue with that?
I just
I love
I-
that. I think it's cool because, like, well, think about this. So you don't get anything else when you get it.
Yeah,
So
but I don't think you should be
yeah.
substituting like a drop, like a GP drop with XP. I don't know. It's just like my own thought. Like if we're PVMing, like I don't think giving an XP lamp
if it's
for
small
a
enough,
drop.
I don't know.
I
Like,
think
I
it's
don't
too
know.
bad
It's
because it.
pretty bad XP for the non-raid skills.
Yeah.
And also, like when you get like a herb drop, it's comparable to the XP you'd get from the thing, but you also get potions out of it.
I would have been fine with combat XPs, but I don't agree with the whatever other skills XPs.
Any sort of free XP or XP lamp is scary
I think the fact that it
because
was
you
the fact,
always see
I mean,
those people watching.
it's bad for almost every skill though, that lamp, because it's only a 50x for non-raid skills.
Yeah, but if it's bad, then the next thing has to be better, and the next thing has to be even better, and you always get more XP.
Not
gonna
if it's a
ramp up.
faster kill time.
It just ramps up with every new content.
I guess. So you're saying it could be like the gateway? I could see that, yeah.
Yeah.
It sets a bad precedent. Okay. I've just never heard anybody complain about the Dark Relic.
Really? No.
No, never
Always-
seen that.
Me neither. I don't mind it, but I don't want more of the likes of the Dark Relic.
Yeah, fair.
Someone brings up effigies, and they are sort of the same, where you just get random skill
effigies
XP
were way
or
more
whatever
farmable.
XP. Yeah.
They were way more OP than this. I remember back in the days I did so many skills with effigies. Runecrafting was, I did I think from 70 to 95 only with effigies. In no
Yeah,
It was
time.
more efficient to farm effigies and use it on
I know.
runecrafting than actually train runecrafting.
It
That's
was.
yeah, the slippery slope that I definitely don't want to go down either.
You also
Wow.
have to think of that the effigies were also so OP because you could give someone an assist that they can open the high level
Yeah, that-
effigy and you get the XP from that. That was
like my favorite daily of the day, just sitting in Demonheim,
Yes.
trying to get someone to give you a good assist. That was awesome.
I'm like really actually like I'm kind of like happy that a lot of you, like the PVMers don't want like getting XP and skills to be easier. That's good. PVMers good.
I think everyone here, just one person is not maxed anyway, so yeah. But I think
Whoa.
That's all point and laugh.
Don't point the finger.
should have started your account earlier, dude.
Yeah.
Alright, any more questions or things you want to talk about it? Otherwise, we're gonna go straight to the bonus questions. Alright. So, what are your thoughts about the current state of old score as PvMing? Do you like it? Do you like which way we're going? If new bosses, new raids, new items, new metas, of course, old metas, etc.
I think this question is more about ulting meta.
Yeah.
Because that is the state of.
That's the first thing that comes to mind when you say the current state.
I think PVM as a whole is like it's just always like a touchy subject. If you PVM without a naught, it's not worth it. But some people don't like ulting to begin with. But then you put yourself at disadvantage. So how do you overcome this issue?
Mm.
I
It's
think as
crazy.
a whole it's okay, but I liked it. Like me personally, it's gonna be different preferences for everyone. But I like ulting because, well, for one, other people do it, and if you don't do it, you're at disadvantage. And becoming like efficient at ulting, and it's like a good challenge, like for yourself, becomes almost like too easy once you master a boss, for example, and then it becomes fun to like do the boss on 2 accounts.
Yeah, it's
Not every boss is like that, but obviously Raids 1 is like that, and I really like the challenge of playing 2 accounts at the same time, personally.
Yeah.
and be the most efficient you can at the same time as
Yes.
The only other thing I've done is just at raids making potions, and I did find it fun, like the challenge of being able stay on par with the rest of the raid team, and on top of that, be able to farm supplies to make potions.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it also felt nice, like contributing more than everyone else, I guess.
Mhm.
But I don't generally like the actual meta itself. It sort of feels a bit too. It feels like it's too much of a high requirement to be able to play the game, where it should really only be played with one account, ideally.
Mhm.
It changes the whole game for sure, and
Yeah.
I'm quite impressed as well, surprised at the same time as well that there's still new metas with the ults that are being figured out or whatever. Just like it's of course the most are just getting more ults at one boss. For example, Corp. It's crazy to think of that. I had like 8 to maybe 6 KC an hour at Corp with 4 mans, and now it's like 44 an hour. And it's like what?
Yeah, that's a big jump.
That's a huge jump.
I think that comes more with time. Like the longer a boss comes out, like it just is what it is sometimes.
Yeah, but I like
It's also
that.
just like the fact that like not many people have 5 accounts.
Yeah.
Mm.
Not many people have time to train 5 accounts unless they.
What I was thinking of today as well is like you hire Venezuelans, give them GPs, so you don't real or trade. They work for you as alt accounts. Just as a funny side thinking.
That and also having to pay membership on 5 accounts. Like I'm sure Jagged don't mind, but it's not very fair, is it?
It's interesting. I
sure.
love pet hunting. I love pet hunting, but I feel like if pets were never a thing, the alt metas would have never got this far.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure. Pretty.
I agree.
Yeah, people won't have as much as a reason to go that way on gaming.
And it's like it's a weird thing because it's like I like so for Bandos for example, I have like 1k KC there and I'm going for the pet, I guess. And I use 3 accounts on one world, and then this 3 account 2 world thing happened, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta learn that. I don't want to learn that, but I gotta learn that because
Yeah.
now it's like it's so much better.
Uh-huh.
But I don't want to do it. I enjoy my one world thing, but now I gotta go learn this because it's apparently better.
You could really watch how the alt meta escalated when during Coxie's Bandos grind.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Started out at duo.
Starting with the Dolo.
Yeah. Started off
Yeah, most-
at what, like 30 kills an hour, upgraded to 33 kills an hour, and then the final push was 83% more kills an hour with the 1+2 hopping, and it's 55 kills an hour.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's
Like I don't
really
even want to
good.
do that. I don't enjoy it. But I feel like if I don't do it, I'm missing out.
Mhm.
A little side question: do you guys think PvM is like mostly determined on GP an hour? Like for example, like a random boss I'll just pick. Like let's say Corp is 10 mil an hour. I have no idea what it actually is. I'm just putting random figures out there. Do you think the new boss has to be more than 10 mil an hour to be not quote unquote dead content?
No.
No,
No, it just has to have, it just has
find
to have a
more of
pet.
the fun aspect of the boss, or like how do you guys view the?
John's exactly right. We found this out with Strachnus. All it has to have is a pet, and it won't be dead content. And I don't like that scared. Like I don't like that either because I don't like the idea of just throwing pets everywhere just to make sure that it's not dead.
Yeah.
Strachnus is a prime example of somewhere that GP per hour is not great. The elites
Yeah.
per hour is weirdly good, which is another issue in
Yeah,
itself.
it's best in slot somehow.
But it's the fact that it won't ever be dead just because pet hunting is, I mean, I would say it's definitely like a growing community. So as long as it does drop a pet, people will probably end up going.
Yeah, in the chat.
You can say that for
Gauntlet,
so many
I think
bosses too.
Mhm.
Gauntlet is an example, which pretty much.
I just hope we don't get too over ambitious. Like I don't want to see personally, it's just put my own biased opinion. I don't want to see like a Barrows pet. I don't know about you guys. Maybe like an extension, kind of like a Rots playoff, Rise of the Six playoff. But I think I don't want to fall down the slippery slope of just adding like a pet to everything. Like I don't think pest control needs a pet.
Did you see how
and
many people wanted that too?
Yes, I also
yeah,
think
I
like
agree.
the thing is people see that BA has a pet and they're like, okay, BA has a pet, so why doesn't pest control? But BA is so much more deep. Like mechanic wise, BA is extreme, and PC just lacks that. PC is just scythe a portal, claw spec a portal, and just wait. I mean, yeah, there's going to be like speed runs for pest control, but I really don't think any other minigame should have a pet other than Barbasol.
Yeah, I think the main argument for a PC pet is literally just almost everyone does PC, and
Mhm.
it gives something cool, and there'll be a cool pet. If it didn't have those things, I don't think anyone would be asking for a PC pet. The same way that no one's asking for a well, there is a trial of fishing pet. It's just a fishing pet, but no one's asking for like a trouble brewing pet or anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trouble doing that.
I'm not against
Could
adding
you imagine trouble brewing when people actually doing the minigame?
Good luck,
Pirate
pet
pet.
hunters.
I
See
remember
ya.
for a long time people did it just for the music track, and then they just
Yeah.
left. That was it.
And the
That and like the TOTUS outfits, right?
Yeah. But
mainly
back
the
to
achievement
the
area.
question, like what is important for a boss to make it enjoyable, I think the fun factor is the biggest one. And I think that's why, not only cash-wise, why it's also you want to go to chambers is the fun aspect. I think more people are doing chambers, also because it's easier than TOB, of course. But I think the fun aspect is, in my opinion, for me, it's way bigger there than
Yeah.
anywhere else. And if like the fun content or the fun factor is the biggest at the, for example, a new boss, it's of course it's not it's not only the pets that are important, it's the fun factor in my opinion.
I think if pets never existed, I probably would only do the occasional corp, probably raids, and then like God Wars, and that's it.
Yeah.
And like Inferno, I guess. I wouldn't do and like almost anything else. I'm looking at the list of like pets right now. I would just do those things and then like skilling.
To kind of give like a different perception on the way the PvM meta is right now. Personally, I am in love with it. I think utilizing alts for me has kind of like brought like passion back to PvMing. I kind of just personally feel like the days of, and I say this a lot on stream, is just equipping a tentacle whip, BCP, tacits, and then just left clicking Bandos and waiting for 90 seconds is so dull. It's
That's
almost
why
like
I said about the complexity of playing more than one account can be really fun.
It's almost like alting now, like in our current game mode, it's more like an MMO. Like right now, like efficient alting for Bandos, the method that John's talking about, the 1+2 hopping, you have a dedicated tank who actually self-sustains its HP just by blood barraging and stacking the minions on top of Groudor. Like, so, like this whole alting and finding out new metas has brought like a lot more strategy to PvM and a lot more complex thinking. The court method that's going on right now, the 4+3 one that Jamal invented and kind of created over a long period of time is, I mean, just utilizes Lunar Spellbook and making sure that you don't ever, it has 2 dedicated healers so that the DPSers don't ever miss ticks. You're attacking every 4 ticks. It doesn't matter. Well, like if you need to get healed, because you get healed with heal other.
It
So
just utilizes the max amount of accounts that can be inside the Cop Cave before the HP region rate gets too heavy.
Yep.
I don't think it's fair to say the thing you just said though, the equipping a tentacle and a BCP and then AFKing waiting 90 seconds. Because like before alts, there was still the solo Bandos methods. Like there was like the really cool like Bandos flicking.
Yeah.
That was still a thing. It's not efficient to do now, but it was really cool and it was the most efficient before alts became a thing.
Yeah. No, I just like that. I feel like in my head, like solos is kind of just held by like irons. I feel like I don't really personally see any like mains like soloing God Wars nowadays besides Arma and Sarah.
Well, it's because of alts.
Yeah.
I guess it has changed the game quite a bit over time.
I think game progression's good though.
Yeah, for sure.
I think meta progression is also good.
Yeah. It baffles me sometimes what people are, certain people of course, always the same ones for Wooks, they always find ways, and I'm like, how the fuck did you fucking get that? It's like, well, why did nobody else get the idea beforehand? Because of course when it's out you were like, oh, it's so easy now, or it's so clear that you should have used that or whatever.
I also think like, so a lot of people like you guys have been saying alting wouldn't be as big without pet hunting. I think alting makes actually hunting all pets a realistic and achievable goal for the average person as well. You probably cut off like 40% of your time just by adding 1 or 2 alts as opposed to soloing everything. So I think that's also...
You have to put in consideration the time that you need to make the alts as well, or the money that you need to pay for example, a corp alter that helps you boost or whatever.
You do that on the side at the same time.
I don't think it's anywhere near that much time save.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
It's
the big
more or
pets, I think it's way less than that. I think it maybe saves you like 20% at most.
As opposed to
there's
solo?
Yeah, because there's so many pets that you have to solo that because of instances anyways.
Don't underestimate the skilling pets.
And there's a lot of skilling, yeah.
There's skilling pets, yeah, but okay, so let's say like Corp, if you're gonna solo, let's just say 6 kills an hour, that's 833 hours, as opposed to using alts and boosting is 130, so that alone is 700 hours saved.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy.
I know that's just one. There's a lot
But
of
that's-
solos,
but
but I
that's
think
just Corp.
30% is pretty accurate.
Well, I think
I don't think alts. How many points more an hour do you get at raids with alts versus solos?
Oh,
It doesn't
know.
depend on the alts go.
But is it more than like 10%? Probably not, right?
I don't know.
And there's, like,
as well.
God
It
Wars,
can
I
be the
guess.
price, point difference, to be fair.
But that 700 hours right there, that's more than the time it takes to get Chamber's pet alone. I don't know. I really do stand by the fact that I think alting does make pet hunting and getting all pets realistic. And I think without alts, pet hunting, getting all pets would not be realistic because it'd be like a probably like close to 6,000 to 8,000 hour goal. Just Corp alone
Efficient
could be an
goal,
absolute
yeah.
killer. Yeah.
The Corp is the
Efficient-wise.
biggest example, so
Yeah.
using like the biggest time save as
But
the
that's,
example.
the average person's not gonna do 4+3. He's gonna do 1+1 or 2+2, I think.
No, I'm
Yeah,
not
I agree.
If they have-
I
if
agree. It
they
saves a
use
shit ton
alt.
of time. I just don't think that the argument that it saves time for the average person is a good one.
I don't.
Because like you just said, the average person is not going to have
Yeah.
access to 4+3.
Numnuts has a good point. He said solos need other accounts or other players to pre-scout for them, and you have to like buy raids for players. I guess that's like the different with team raids and using an alt for a raid in that situation.
I'm not
It's
sure
like
how much
you have-
time that saves if you just did every raid possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I was just bringing the
Just
point.
nobody does that because they don't want to do the,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
AIDS rooms.
Alright, let's keep on going. If you could change anything at a PvM boss, a mechanic, or whatever in the game, what would it be? A specific change?
Hunliff. I'd get rid of it. I'm sorry. It's
Add more
just-
variants to Gauntlet.
Yeah, I was praying for something like Dungeoneering where we're either gonna have like different bosses or it's this idea of it sounds weird almost as like a RuneScape player saying that something is too repetitive, but there's different types of repetitive. And I don't know how to explain how Gauntlet is just the bad type of repetitive, but it's the bad type of repetitive in like the RNG aspect of like going to hunt your tier 3 bow, and I don't know what it is. I just think like for Corrupted Gauntlet, doing that for hours on end is actually depressing.
I
Yeah, but-
love the mechanic in the fight though with the floor. The floor is probably the coolest mechanic they've ever added to this game. Like the moving floor.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
so cool, and that could be implemented in so many places. I fucking love that thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I do like that as well.
So yeah.
But everything else about it sucks. So
There has to be some kind of random mechanic to it, so it does not get botted like other stuff. Zulura.
So Coxie would change the Gauntlet or the Young Left, whatever.
I don't even know.
stuff
Like
you would
I've
change?
yeah, I have been trying to like think about that not only right now but in the past, like what I would do to change Gauntlet. And maybe it's even I'm talking about how it's repetitive, but almost add like a consistency factor to it. Like I saw a Foe's tweet about like putting only like NPCs in like a certain area range and then putting the skilling rooms in a certain area range. I don't know what I would change.
would that make
for
it more
Gauntlet.
repetitive but just consistent?
Yeah. But it
So I think
yeah.
consistency is what you're looking for. I think it's not repetitive. It's just too RNG is what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the boss
there's
fight
two
with
issues.
counting.
Yeah, there's the boss fight issue and then like the pre-boss fight issue, and I think both are not great. But they're both yeah. I don't know how I change Gauntlet personally.
What about like an Earth Gauntlet and like like you know there's a corrupt, like they have like all different ones. They got like normal, corrupt, some other ones, and then they should add extra bosses at the end as well, like different bosses at the end.
You mean elementary wise, fire, water?
Yeah, so
stuff
kind of like
that?
DG, how there's like frozen
Yeah.
floor and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
have something like that, but for Gauntlet.
I don't know if it was player hyped or like if the mods were comparing it to Dungeoneering, but I feel like everyone was comparing Gauntlet to Dungeoneering, and just my expectations were so high. I was so excited for it
I remember
because
that.
I love Dungeoneering, and then it wasn't what.
Same for
I'm a
me.
massive engineering fan, so I was like quite sad.
The playtesters hyped it
Yeah.
a lot as well. When on Twitter, like, oh, it's gonna be so good. I'm really looking forward. I'm like, oh my god, I'm really looking forward to it as well. It was cool for 1 week and
Yeah.
then it stopped. Oh, I was the first person to get a pet, so.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I remember I was doing, I think it was one of the Deadman mode tournaments that we had to read, and I came into the office earlier that day, and all I did for like a good 3-4 hours just do the gauntlet. I did have a lot of fun, but I think part of what made the gauntlet not as good is that it got boring quick, I'd say,
Yeah.
to the point where when it came to the main game, I did my 1 kill, and then I did my 1 corrupt kill, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing I would change is Hydra. I can't believe it's a range-only boss and you have to count to 3. You talk about how fucking shitty that is.
Yeah, it goes back to the counting thing. That's why I pray Ashihama has nothing to do with like counting attacks before it switches style.
Hydra would have been really cool if it was every phase was maybe a different combat style or something, or it was random phases as well. So it might not start green, it might start blue. So you have to actually think about it. You have to actually go, oh, okay, I got to go up to the northwest this kill, and then go southeast, and then go north, instead of just the same order every time, counting to 3 every time. God, it's so trash. Sorry.
That would make it good, but it would also make it really time consuming because we'd have to make models for every single like variant, things like that. So some things just aren't really feasible, and they're not that bad as they are right now, so they probably wouldn't be changed. If you know what I mean.
It's only not bad because it's like a few mil an hour, so people don't complain too much.
One thing I like to see in the game that they actually patched out. Same thing Ginny said in the chat. There's a roughness stalling, like using a mind shield or the shrink me potion to avoid getting caught in the webs.
That was removed because it was just straight up a bug.
Yeah, but that made the boss fun. Now it's just now it's boring. Now people just go there for the pet.
Yeah, I get the argument, but we generally tend to not want bugs in our game, even if they do make it like more of an interactive experience. It's hard to like put it into perspective because
it wasn't that impactful, though, was it?
Having metas revolving around buggy mechanics shouldn't really be a thing from our point of view, if you know what I mean. Like, I get that it makes the boss fun and more like better to do, but it's still like not really something we'd want to do.
Bruno, the BA community might come after me with this one, but like all of BA revolves around like kind of manipulating game mechanics. That's how like efficient BA is, though, and that's why a lot of people were upset because you use the same tactics in BA that people were using to stall Sarachnis.
Yeah,
I think it's because they don't want to change BA code.
Yeah, it's because BA is like a decade old and Sarachnis was like a couple months old.
Yeah. BA is good though. Don't change BA.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's planning on changing BA.
All right, because
okay.
there'd be a lot of people that are very upset with me right now. BA was getting completely reworked next week.
Another topic that never actually got spoken about after it was like introduced is Mod Ash talking about maybe paying an NPC outside of like Cox to scout a raid for you, and let's say it takes like 10 minutes for said NPC to find you a scout, and you have to pay it like, I don't know, 200k or something. He suggested this on Twitter, but then like never really said if he would or wouldn't do it. It
Did
was
he
more of a
actually?
suggestion. Yeah, he did.
And missed that
Like,
one completely then?
Have you heard anything else about that, Bruno?
I remember us wanting to pull basically like scouting, but not really like full-on scouting. I think it was like something like parchment papers or something. This is a while ago, but the resounding answer was don't change Chambers of Zerek because people like scouting. So that's why we never went ahead with anything like that.
Would that be something that might be changed still, or polled, or like how would that go?
I think the thing right now is people scout for free. If you made people not scout but have to pay 100k, they'll probably not want to do that, even though 100k
Maybe
is
just
like
make it an option to scout. You don't have to do it. Like pay the guy.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
So something like kind of like Nightmare Zone, where like you pick the rooms you want, and depending on that, like which rooms you pick, you pay more. And then you obviously have to wait or something. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. Nah. Yeah.
Just something came
You
to
know
mind.
how we keep talking about Sarachnis? I'm curious. Was the Mimic, Konar, Forthos, Hydra, the Farming Guild, Hosidius update, and Stone Chests all in preparation for Twisted Leagues? And it was just like a full year in advance, and it was just Illuminati shit. No.
I mean, yeah, definitely. That was definitely the plan, guys.
I mean, Forthos
did.
came out of nowhere. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Forthos Dungeon came out of
Forthos-
nowhere.
So Forthos Dungeon was basically Mod Husky's like initiation update. I guess I could call it that. So it was the update which he took in charge, and it was like his thing as like a starter person. So for example, like Mod Oasis recently just did the Christmas event. That was his like first update really. Before that, Mod Flippy did Halloween, and then before that, Mod Tide did the Easter event and the treasure trail update. So for Mod Husky, it was just like he had an idea, he needed an update as like a first thing to do, which would like teach him a lot about like coding, that sort of stuff. So he just went ahead and made Fatherless Dungeon.
So it just happened to work out.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of stuff in the game.
Because there was
Yeah,
a
so-
lot of changes to Zaya in this past year. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, we ourselves know that Zayas aren't perfect, and we have been looking to change that. So, for example, we worked on Hosidius update, and we basically changed nearly all of Hosidius. I remember testing that, and it wasn't very fun. There's a lot of changes to Hosidius to make sure that everything works properly. But we do plan on making more changes to Zaya, and Zaya just seems like a really good place to do a Twisted League, or a league in general, because it's very locked off. There's a lot of content to do, like, surprisingly. Compared to release, there's like massive amounts of things to do in Zaya these days.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question regarding Ashihama and sorry, Alfie and Bruno? But I've been thinking about this one a lot. Regarding to like meta, how we think we're gonna be able to kill it. Promise, I'm not trying to merch anything. But it's so okay. So TOB. Obviously, we're kind of under the we've seen a lot of the boss drops what's going to be BIS there. TOB obviously dropping Scythe, which is best in slot at Verzik, Chambers, T-Bow. This is going to be a magic-based boss. Do you guys think magic is going to be powerful there? Because high magic level, obviously magic usually isn't good against monsters with high magic. What are you guys' thoughts?
I do believe it's going to be very powerful there.
You think magic's going to be BIS there? Because we don't really have
makes
that many
sense.
bosses where magic is BIS.
It just would go along with the theme of the raids we had before that.
Yeah.
Like Chambers of Zarek, you get a twisted bow there. What's best to use? Twisted bow. TOB, you get a scythe. What's best to use? The scythe.
Yeah.
I would like to have and hope also combat triangle use, but
I don't think Coxie was asking them. I think he was telling them like, "Hey, I know you guys can't answer this, but everybody else in the call, what do you
Yeah.
think?" Yeah, I could see it being weak to magic and crush. Just a thought.
Crush, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Do you guys think it's gonna have different phases where you have to use different combat styles?
I really want that. I would be so stoked if that would come
Yeah.
out.
I think that's what they're gonna do as well. Just because it fits the it fits the same pattern as TOB and Chambers.
Yeah.
Mm.
I could
I
see
wonder-
it like go in a flying state or something like that, so you can't reach it with melee
Mm.
and forced to use major range.
Yeah. Do we know if it's gonna have phases? Have they
I
leaked
don't
that at
think
all?
so.
Because they keep saying it's like Corp, but Corp doesn't have phases.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they'd say it's like Corp, other
I
than
think
the fact that it's gonna be like open instance.
Corp is pretty much the one, not the one and only, but the biggest like boss where it's the big room and there's like a harder boss to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
I
see
wonder
any
if it's
other
gonna-
bosses that you can compare it to.
Yeah.
And maybe they were afraid to say next. I don't know.
That's my initial theory, that it's going to be very similar to Next,
Mm.
but they're fearful of comparing it to Next just because people hear anything RS3 related and they're like, no.
No.
Or they hear
Next-
next and they're disappointed when it's not.
To be
Yeah,
honest,
or
I think
that.
next would pass a poll if it would go to the poll.
Yeah, I believe so too. There's a lot of people that like how Next was back in like RS2 and
Mm.
stuff like that. I feel like it would be like one of the good bosses to implement personally, but
Yeah.
then again, it's preference. I loved Next like my favorite boss, that and Vrago. So
Yeah, like RuneScape 3 does have a lot of good bosses. Like people don't like the game because of how combat works in that game, but you definitely have some good like
doesn't
I think
have to be like
that's like one of the only thing that's good about RS3 is like the PvM on there. It looks sick, but I would just don't care to do
Yeah.
a lot of people preferred next, like, you know, before abilities were a thing, as opposed to after abilities were a thing. So I think it's like a really good implementation for like old school. Is that it will be pretty much the same. Like items we use won't be like determined by like using abilities that you wouldn't have available to you in old school RuneScape. So
What's your guys' thoughts on how quickly? Is there gonna be a quest before the a pre-quest to do the stuff, right? There's a quest to access the area.
Nightmare
No?
of Ashihama has
Wait.
no requirements aside from getting there, which requires Priest and Peril.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So
what?
I thought
okay,
it's
so with
after
that in
the city.
mind, do you guys think Wooks will find a way to break that boss before or after they do their Q&A after the update?
After.
I'm saying before. I'm saying it'll be
before.
within 30 minutes of release.
I think
If there's no
boss
quest
will work.
requirement, I think he'll figure something out within the first 30 minutes.
What do you mean by figure something out?
Something that
Just
Like,
ask-
he'll break it. He'll break it.
We're using
Like,
the word break, by the way, as in
one
like
of the first times the stream team reached Versik at TOB, Brooks instantly figured out he could range Versik from far away with a TiVo without her doing anything,
it's
and
weak to
that got-
slash.
and that got hotfixed while he was doing it.
Yeah. The soda seg thing too. So when I say break, I either mean he's going to get a significant number of kills over other people if it's like 100 people per world because he'll know something other people don't, or he'll have like people on his world doing something that's just going to break it.
But
Like
he's
everybody
gonna
standing
stream
southwest
it anyway,
or something.
so everyone
or-
will know it, and it's gonna be the top stream for sure.
just
Yeah.
Luke's things.
Yeah.
He'll surely do something. How quickly before the first solo? Because obviously the worlds are probably going to be packed.
Yeah. Oof.
Is that something we can ask the playtesters? Do you think it's going to be soloable?
It would be dumb for me to say it's not going to be soloable because Theatre of Blood's soloable, and that was never designed to be soloable. So
Yeah, Wooks
of
exists.
course, someone will find a way.
All right.
I think it'll have to be an Iron Man, based on what you've said earlier. I'm not going to say what I think what you said will mean, but I think it'll have to be an Iron Man that does the first solo.
Mhm.
I don't think it will be an Iron Man.
Nah.
Yeah, I think the first week it's gonna be maybe. It depends how the boss is fun wise and stuff, and drop wise, of course, it's gonna be also already good enough that it's gonna be packed for a whole week. So Iron
Yeah, but my
Man's
theory
good
is
game.
that it'll be like Corp, where when you go to Corp on an Iron Man, it's a different room than what mains see.
Oh, are they gonna do that as well?
So there will be less Iron Man doing it, and eventually some Iron Man will be able to
I
solo
don't
it.
think. I really hope they don't do that.
They can't confirm or deny that that's
Yeah,
how it works,
okay.
but based on what was said earlier, I think that might be what happens.
I just hope it won't be like Corp, where you have a teleport very close by and you can just have all the cons run in.
Oh,
cast
yeah,
their lunar
okay.
spells, teleport out.
Oh, that would be
If it is
so
like
OP.
that, I really hope it's something where it's like a rare, maybe even untradeable drop like Cerberus. Like, you know how there's the Keymaster teleports?
Mhm.
If there's a drop like, I would like that. That would be cool. Because it's like, you do the kills, here's a couple of teleports so you can do
Yeah,
some more kills
that's-
quicker, but then they run out.
Agreed.
But that's-
totally.
I like that. But dude, if it's like a teleport and you're there 2 seconds later and it's something you can get like really quickly, and oh, fuck that. No, don't want that. Please no.
I don't know if you can ask that. Probably you can't answer that. But there's a question in the chat: will the boss scale to people, or will it stay the same? It doesn't matter how many people are in the room.
I'd rather not answer that.
All right, cool.
I think we can infer that it's not going to change.
It might have anti-mass mechanics, so like Corp doesn't scale, but Corp has anti-mass mechanics.
Oh yeah, true.
So
It
more
could
people
be
in the room,
something
it
like that.
heals.
Yeah,
It heals
yeah.
more based on how many people are over 7.
All right.
Could see something like that, yeah.
I can too.
All right, let's keep on going. On also a really surprising update that came, was it 1.5 weeks ago? Boss high scores. came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere for me. I was like, what? It came out. Holy shit. Nice. Finally. I was a bit skeptical as well. Really loved it. Of course, it was a bit buggy till everyone was on the list or logged in, whatever. What are your thoughts? What were the biggest surprises of KC wise? Maybe have some numbers in the head.
110k Zora on top of my head with 83 range and 99 magic. Something along
Yeah,
those
true.
lines.
Total not bot 1, 2, 3.
So as far as I know, the people on the high scores, very high ranked up, are actually bots or anything. From what I know, they just tend to be people who stake a lot. And what do you do when you lose? You go to Zora, make 10 mil, and then go back to staking. So
What about the guy that got banned? That was like rank 2 Zora.
well, yeah, of course. The ones that get banned are of course illegal, but you have somewhat stayed on top of it to make sure that the people on top of the high scores are just like blatant botting.
It's fantastic. Yeah,
Do
the
you
rank
know
1
how
bandos.
many people got caught? Like roughly.
I don't know myself, so not too sure. But I'm assuming at least probably like a handful. I don't know.
The rank
was
1
surprised.
Bandos was taken off, and I'm happy to see that because it was, first of all, it was extremely obvious. He was rank 1 and he was rank 8, and he had 64 magic, and it was all melee bandos. He did 56,000 bandos kills with 64 Dude, that guy took so much unnecessary damage from the
Yes.
minion.
You bet. I think he got 64 probably from that many Trollheim teleports.
No, that's actually what it did, yeah.
Oh my god.
Like you get 61 is Trollheim teleport, so it was like he got 61 and then oh man. I was surprised by challenge mode. I have
that
900
guy.
KC. I have 900 KC and I'm only rank 19. Like I'm surprised how many people have that many.
You were
kills.
thinking that more people have it?
There's there's a couple names I don't recognize. So like one guy has 2,000 that I've never heard of.
Yep, no one's ever heard of him. That farming guy? What's his
Farm
name?
11 mil, yeah, Farm 1
Yeah.
Never heard of him. He has 2K.
Same.
Which
There's like
is
3 other people
shocking.
that I've never heard of that have over 1K.
I'm also surprised that with Chambers KC, I think it's one of the easiest ways to boost the rank in the rank wise. I thought that there would be way more. I'm like 360 KC. I'm like top 100 or something.
Wait, for what?
CMs.
Oh. I'm
I
not
don't
too
think-
surprised.
I
Not a lot
thought-
of people do CM.
Yeah, but you know, I think Chambers is probably the most favorite content besides Slayer for most PvMers.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that maybe after Omelette, everyone wants to get the dust because, of course, it's way cooler than just having the Omelette. But
Yeah.
I was surprised that there's not more people doing that.
I'm really happy with the boss high scores. What I would like to see, and would be awesome, is just all non-skilling pets be on the boss high scores. What are your guys' thoughts on that? That way we can track like BA high gambles. We can track, if they're gonna put Wintertot on there. I'm like surprised that they didn't put like Urbian. I think Zolcano's on there, right?
Volcano's on there, yeah.
Volcano,
Volcano and
yeah.
Wintertot are considered skilling bosses. So
Yeah.
It is purely just a boss high score rather than a high score for like.
So
miscellaneous
what about?
things.
I mean, there's a mini game high score, but it doesn't include BA, which is interesting.
So I know this isn't like your primary motive, but what's gonna happen is CML is gonna add an EHB, and as high gambles is technically EHB. That I mean, I would just like to personally see all non-skilling pets. Think that would be an awesome addition, but I do understand why there is only like bosses on there.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see the boss high scores on Runelight or other third-party clients as well. To right-click them and see their KC instead of going to the official high score ones. I don't know if they talked about adding that.
That's
or
gonna be
whatever.
awesome.
I think that's great, but I think it could also lead to some people being more toxic and being like,
Yeah.
this guy's trash, he doesn't even have like 1k
Yeah.
KC.
You can already do that with the chat
yeah.
comments on the Rundat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But the way we care about being able to introduce these was because of Twisted League. So, because we had to expand high scores to be able to do Twisted League, we basically made it so that we could also expand high scores into other things like bosses, and that was pretty good. So, I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. It was something that a lot of people asked for a while.
Mm. Yeah, I'm curious how many more river traders, botters, or whatever are gonna be caught because of that.
Yeah. people will get reported more if they're on top of the high scores with sketchy stats.
I've never thought about that. That's also a positive thing.
I think that's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool thing that they added the boss high scores in general, though, because it's like a really cool way to show recognition. Because before there was no way to know. Like you could say you've done this much, and you can talk about like how much time you spent PvMing and doing all these stuff, but you can't really show that anywhere besides if you like stream or post it somewhere.
Yeah.
But now it's like somebody can go on the high scores and say like, oh my god, this guy, this ultimate Iron Man, has like thousands of or like 600 Vedion kills. Like that's there's cool ways to do that. But it also could be negative. I saw it in C Engineer's video, but I thought about it for hardcore Iron Man as well, like doing wildy bosses. But in C Engineer's video, he was like, I can't do a boss for more than like a few kills because as soon as I log out, people know that I'm killing that boss. So he has to like, change up what he does. So it makes hardcores a little more risky if they try to do something like Seracnus or Vedion, because I'm sure there's people out there that have scripts where they're constantly checking and updating on if a hardcore Iron Man has updated KC somewhere.
Not everyone has a hardcore in a PvP world. If you're running a regular hardcore...
That's why I said wildy bosses. I was talking about wildy bosses too. Like PvP clans can easily find if a hardcore is doing a wildy boss.
They have to target you specifically.
They can have a lookup for the high scores. It's not that hard to make. I've seen them in Discords. There's like Discord bots that like will at somebody when a hardcore is in the wilderness. There's some pretty crazy stuff out there.
And you could have bots that keep track of the hardcore's KCs.
Yeah.
And they'll alert you when it's changing for wilderness bosses. Yeah.
Something that also didn't surprise me, which I was thinking of if it comes out, is that I think the most average player focuses on one boss or two bosses and has an extremely high KC there and really low at the others. So they're focusing on one content. Like that's something I think RuneScape always been a bit known for, that you focus on one content, farm that shit out, and then do whatever you want. So.
You know what's really crazy is that there's only like people that target those one or two bosses that have like crazy high KCs. But it's cool because it's like you can actually get recognition for it.
Now, yeah.
What really crazy statistic is that only 10 UIMs have an Infernal Cape.
What is it? Oh, UIMs? Really?
Yeah, and one of them has 8 KC, and the others all have 1.
Damn.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Way more.
Very challenging.
Yeah.
Ultimate Iron Man is just sick mode. Much respect.
Someone in the chat said, is there any chance for completion times to be added to the high scores? It'd be nice to see like raid speedrun times and other bosses and such. It's quite a nice idea too, as opposed to having to look at like a Discord to see like
I would like
the
that as well.
fastest a boss has been killed and such. To be able to
Not
see
for
like...
every boss though. Maybe the one we have now.
of course, yeah.
Which ones that have times, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
CM
exactly.
times.
Times, like for, I don't know, like I guess the ones that people more directed to, like raids or Theatre of Blood, like seeing like what times are like the fastest and such could be quite nice.
I like the in-game one.
Yeah.
It'd be hard.
Some are like still bugged though, right? I think like
They are.
They are. Most
Yeah.
are, I think.
I meant like the in-game TOB one, but
Oh, right.
yeah, CM. Oh yeah, CM has those too. It'd be cool if they showed like 4-man and 3-man times too for like TOB, and like all the way down to like duo and solo maybe even.
Say a big thank you to Jagex implementing the boss high scores after years of requesting it. And was it actually? It was not announced, right? I was right. I was like, what the what came out? Holy shit!
No, it was fully just a surprise.
Yeah, that.
You guys have worked on it for a while, I think. Because I remember back in January, the like Twitch and content creator and old school thing, they were talking about like what do you guys think could be added to the website to make more people like want to go to the website instead of just using it to like log into the game.
Well, all it took was Twisted Leaks, so just have to end deadman mode and we get boss high scores.
Easy. Alright, one question I wanted to ask Bruno is, more talk to him about that. For example, you have a new idea, we're gonna make a new boss. How do you do that at Jagex? when you sit together, what are your ideas? What are your thought process? Of course, maybe you can also only really talk about Ashihama. I always say Ashihama, of course, without any spoilers or whatever. Like, what is the work process you have to think of bosses, or maybe also the drop tables for the drops? What will drop the new boss? What kind of boss are we making?
Yeah, so there isn't just like a set path of how to make a boss, for example. It's a lot of just like mainly where do you want to put the boss. So, for example, in Kebos, we wanted to put the boss in like the sulfur area. So that would make it sort of like it sort of wants to fit within the area, to not force it on there and just like make it a bit random. We also, once we figured that out, we sort of think, what is the boss actually going to be? So we basically want to make it thematically correct, but also before we even like start designing it, making sure that it's not like just completely different to RuneScape and what it actually is. Then once we figure that sort of things out, we start deciding what sort of mechanics we want to give to the boss. So for the Hydra, we sort of decided that like we wanted to make you guys walk around and make it like go on certain spots. So we made the vent mechanic. And then once we have the basis of what the boss is and what it does, we then like start adding like more random things on top of it, like changing the combat styles or making like the last phase, or it's basically a Jad phase, that sort of thing. What else?
I want to ask, if you start to playtesting, just not playtesting, Jagex testing, are there certain persons you always let go first, or is it like everyone tries it out, or does certain people are maybe more skilled or whatever, and you let them go first as a team? Is there like a team that?
Yeah, so there's obviously certain people assigned to certain projects. Right now, I'm assigned to the Ashihama project. So in terms of Ashihama, yeah, I would be generally the first person to have a go at whatever the content is. So the way we make the boss and test the boss is, we don't just make the boss the entire thing and then say, here you go, just test it. Go ahead. We basically just test it and make it bit by bit, to make sure that everything goes well together and there isn't anything like completely broken between one bit of the boss and the other bit of the boss. Once we've sort of figured that out, then we just carry on with making the boss and then deciding, is this a good mechanic, is it bad? In terms of who gets to test things first or play with things first, there isn't really like a line or anything like that, because everyone can access everything within the like streams. So we have different type of like worlds which are all private worlds, and anyone can boot these up. So even if you're like, I don't know, in RuneScape 3, you can still boot up a old school world and test it for yourself. But in terms of like key people, yeah, I'd say like the key people generally do tend to be QA, because for example, me and Modcurse are like the main go-to PvM QA people. But there's also obviously like people like Kieran and even Ed, who knows what they're doing when it comes to like making and testing the boss, so they also have a go at it.
Just an idea I just had. Make it behind the scenes how you created the Nightmare of Ashihama. That would be really awesome.
That could be really
behind
good
the scenes, maybe coming through, yeah.
That'd be really nice to see.
Like how you work, like just as a quest, because from my point of view as a player that never been to Jagex or whatever, I really want to know how you do it. I'm so curious about that, because I think it's a really nice experience, of course, and nice to know how you work for that.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll be doing anything like from start to finish, but we probably will be doing like a behind the scenes like we usually do. So we did one for Twisted Leagues, which was mainly just about how we came across Twisted Leagues and how we made it. So something like that, but for the Nightmare of Ashihama will probably happen.
Cool. Thanks for the input. It was quite interesting. So, next topic. It came out today. The 9 Combat Fire Cape. Is it real or not? I don't know.
It's real.
It's real. You can check it on the high scores.
Yeah,
sure. Now you can check it. Yeah, true. Finally, we can check if something's real or not. What did he do? There's no video out yet from it.
He did the recoil bug.
Oh, I see. Yeah, the
Well,
one
I don't know if it's a bug.
you
It's
tweeted,
not a
right?
bug.
It has to be
Yeah,
bug abuse. He's 10
it's-
HP.
It's not really a bug, but it's a mechanic where basically if you have a recoil that has X charges, whatever, the charges are saved like player sided. It's the same reason like you can stack up clues and do like multiple clues at once and have like all the clues get steps. But basically, whenever you add a noted recoil to a suffering, it resets your normal recoil's charges because it takes the amount of charges you had left and puts them in the suffering, whether it's the noted one or the normal one. So like it'll put like a, let's say you have like a 20 charge recoil on you, and then you have a noted recoil. You add the noted recoil to the suffering, it gives the suffering 20 charges, and then it makes your unnoted 140 again.
If anyone wants to see what he's talking about, your tweet's in the chat now. But yeah,
Thanks.
basically just like a description of it.
Yeah. He didn't.
Do you think they'll look? Do you think they'll
post the
look into
time,
it and
right?
take the cape away?
I don't. It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think
But-
if they fix not fix, but if they change how the recoil thing works, whether they make it so you need to have the requirements to wear a suffering to be able to add charges to it, or if they do something where they just remove that entirely, so that like you always keep the same number of your normal ones. Whatever they do, if they change it, they should remove the cape. If they don't change it, then I think you should keep the cape.
Alright,
Because it
yes.
kind of makes it kind of going in the spirit of like competition, I guess. If they change it to something where he can never be beat because a mechanic was changed, then it's kind of unfair.
Yeah, because Exact didn't use that, did he? I don't think
No.
Exact used recoils. Wasn't he just like safe spotting?
He had like 25
brought a
recoil
couple-
in his inventory, so he
He
used
brought some
about-
recoils, but
But he was using
Exact's-
like the suffering, like
no, he wasn't doing the
Yeah.
suffering thing. No,
He mostly relied on poison.
Yeah.
he Exax was really crazy because he had like every square like perfectly mapped out for every rotation.
He was Comet 13, right?
14?
14?
14.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
14. Yeah. It's funny that it came out last week, right? Or a couple of days, and then the 9 Comet one straight after. It's like what?
Well, I think it's kind of a like this method coming out. It just goes to show that like when there's actually competition for something, or people are like two people are going after something, or a group of people are trying to beat something, new metas always form from that. So it's like I don't think that method would have been maybe not. I don't want to say it wouldn't have been discovered, but maybe not as quickly, or it wouldn't have been like people wouldn't have tried that unless there was some competition there.
Yeah, single digit fire cape, fucking crazy.
It's like all the
Never
methods
thought.
that came out with like when raid speedruns were starting to get hype, like the telegrabbing the crystal, or like just skipping rope in general, like doing things like that wouldn't have happened
Yeah.
without competition. People wouldn't have looked at it differently. Do you guys think it's a good use of mechanics, or do you think it's something that should be fixed?
I don't think. Unless it doesn't make, or someone finds out a meta that is going to be used for another PvM content that bugs it a bit out or makes it
that-
much easier, I'm fine with it.
That changes so many things. There's so many things that you can do at a lower combat because of that.
Yeah, no, but I don't
one thing
care
that comes to
about
mind is like
lower
the
combat.
lowest level Zora. That's very easy to beat now.
Yeah, but I don't care about lower combat, but it's for the most efficiency-wise. If it changes metas efficiency-wise for top speedruns or whatever, then
Doesn't
I don't think
really-
it would because you can just wear the suffering then.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah,
you don't
it
want the
just-
defense.
It just opens the room for a lot of low combat records. It doesn't change the game entirely.
I like that, to be honest. No problem with it from my point of view.
So you guys think it should stay?
I do.
Yes.
I think people are very polarized on it. I actually don't know what my opinion is on it. I hold the opinion that again, if it changes, then the cape should be removed. But if it doesn't change, then it's fine. But I don't know if I have an opinion on if it should or shouldn't be changed.
Alright, so let's go to the last topic, and then we're going to end the PvM podcast. It's about third-party clients. Of course, all the plugins for PvM. Of course, the recent uproar that have been caused with third-party clients, with some OP plugins, if you may call them OP, which in my opinion you can. What are your opinions about third-party clients for PvM? We're going to focus on PvM now, not other stuff. Maybe we can take some examples. Yeah.
My opinion is you can't stop them. Even if you ban, quotations ban Runelight, there will be forks of it, other versions of it.
Runelight's Jagex approved. What do you mean?
Yeah,
It is now.
now it is. Like they had to remove some plugins, but there are still clients around that have those plugins and
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I wish there was a system like WoW where like add-ons on WoW, they have to be approved by WoW first, but then once they're approved, like they can be made by anybody. Once they're approved, you can add them if you want or not add them. Kind of so like let's say if old school had that, you launch up the old school client. If I wanted an XP tracker, boom, I can get the XP tracker add-on from their official website, or I can get the high score lookup from their official website. And I think there'd be a cooler way to do it, but I just don't think they want to put the effort in for that.
I think it would
I
take
also
a lot
really
of work
wish-
away from them as well. If they
I also
would
really
make
wish I
it
could
open source like that and they would just approve it. It would take
It'd be
work
cool.
of them
It'd
to
be really cool.
improve the vanilla client.
Yeah, I would like it a lot.
Me too.
But I think another thing, if I could just load up the old school client and it's the right size without having to use a batch file, I'd probably use a normal client sometimes. But
yeah, they should
can't do that, can I?
update the vanilla client for sure. Best way to get rid of OP plugins and ban all of the third-party
It
clients.
almost seems like the people who program the client plugins have more options than, let's say, Ash, who tries to improve the vanilla client. There was a discussion on making the sounds sliders not have
Sorry,
the.
can you repeat that?
There was a question on Twitter to Ash if he can make the sound sliding more smooth, not just have 4 different options. He said that's a problem they would have to change a lot. And then a few weeks later, Runelight comes out with it as a plugin.
That was also a really big.
Seems like they just have it a lot easier there.
Yeah, the way that it's sort of hard because Runelike or any third-party client can do something, but we have to do that same thing for the main game, for mobile. Make sure it doesn't break anything. Make sure it passes a poll if it has to. Whereas like a third-party client can just do it and nothing has to be done about it. Whereas we have to like make sure it works on everything and it doesn't break anything. Because many times, like a random plugin on a third-party client will break something. People think it's actually Jagex when it's not really anything we've done. And if we had to do the same thing like every single time, then that would be a lot of time spent on our end. So we just can't really justify it on everything.
What part of the team would be on like the updating the client part? Would it be the dev team or would it be like more engine or?
It would probably be the engine team if we want to get things done properly, but it would also have to be a lot of like content changes as well, which we could make ourselves. But that would also mean that we'd have to have a separate team dedicated to the client, for example, which we can't really do right now because we're like quite busy, I'd say.
Yeah, because like I don't even think that's like a dev team issue, is it? Because you guys make the in-game content, not really.
Yeah. It goes hand in hand. Some things are like dev related or content, whereas some things are just engine related. You can't really mandate what team does what based on what to put on the client.
Make a new team. vanilla client team.
It's more like the 5 things that people complain about the most is like account security, updating the main client, death mechanics, and like I don't know what else, but those are like big 3 ones.
Yeah. So anything else? Any plugins? Maybe some plugins you after Jagex released their announcement or their statement that you would still remove? Did they find too OP?
Just don't remove the clue helper plugins, please.
I think clues are one of the most devalued things in the game. People don't realize.
Yeah.
As someone who's been doing clues like all day today on Twisted League, yeah, they are really nice.
I
But
agree.
at a certain point, you don't really need them anymore. They do make the game feel a lot easier than it is.
Yeah, I used to have like every hard clue memorized, like the steps, but now I just like, oh, it tells me to go here. Okay, I'm gonna go here. And I just probably I could look at a clue now, I wouldn't even know what the step was at all.
Someone says in the chat about the clan system rework. I heard that was going to be a thing for
Yeah.
next year. Is that also still being promised?
Yeah,
Having
that
a
was.
separate clan system as opposed to like what we would call an FC.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was something that was announced on RuneFest, and that is something we would like to work on. So before we can even have Group Iron Man, we need clans, because
Mhm.
the way we'll make Group Iron Man is also the way that we'll need to make clans. So one thing sort of goes hand in hand with another.
Yeah.
But that is something that's still on the cards, and we would like to push out this year.
Since we're on the topic of Group Iron Man, can I bring something up really quick?
Sure.
So, one, I think it'd be awesome, and it'd be in the spirit of Group Iron Man, if you were somehow locked into instance bosses, like Chambers and TOB, for example. You can only do those two either solo or with your team. You can't do it with anyone
Ooh.
outside of the team. That way you can't get boosted.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the ideas with it.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome, and I pray that that's actually a thing. So, like, let's say you only want to do Group Iron Man with 2 people. Well, you better be dolo, or you're gonna be duoing TOB. And I don't know. I just think that'd be fun. It would be you wouldn't be able to get boosted by outside people. That would just give you like the high point rolls, especially in Chambers, and it'd be fitting. I think that'd be awesome. Also that, and then a shared collection log. I keep trying to push the shared collection log just because it's gonna be easier to like track like full armor sets, just because that's obviously gonna be a race. Like the first team to finish a full TOB set and a full chamber set. It's also gonna be easy to track pets.
I can imagine
You just want that because that's gonna be the account goal or the group goal for your Group Iron Man team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm very excited to play Group Iron Man just under the direct goal of like hunting like a Cox set and a TOB set and hunting all pets.
I like the idea of that.
It's be a nice way to like kind of organize everything.
I can also imagine that the engine work needed for the shared collection log is also a step for maybe the updated clan system. So yeah, maybe you can see that.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else you want to add? Maybe there's a questions from the chat I'm watching. By the way, thanks anyone that took some questions from the chat and put it in here before I saw them.
I think I stole a few.
No, that's fine.
Nothing.
That's good. That's what I want. Alright, yeah, I think then we're gonna end it. I really like this podcast. Thank you everyone that passed by to watch. Thank you everyone who participated. I think it was the best podcast. We're improving somehow, even though I did the least work for this podcast. I really like the discussions and the participation of every individual here. Thank you again. Thanks to my Bruno, Coxie, Mandred, Alfie, and Zulu.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And of course, I really want to try out. I always say that every time for a PvM podcast, I want to do more and stuff. But I was pretty busy lately with my life. I'm gonna start school again this summer, so I'm gonna have more time. I really want to try to do more PvM podcasts. Of course, I don't want to overflood it with unnecessary stuff, but I'm gonna try to make one for every new boss that comes out for sure. Alright, thanks and bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.